please rise for the entrance of the official party and remain standing for the posting of the colors and the singing of the national anthem.
Chaplain Nugent, will you please come forward and deliver the invocation?
Let us pray. Almighty God, we, family and friends, pause this moment to give you thanks and to recognize a very important milestone in the lives of these men and women. As they embark upon new challenges and responsibilities, they may be reminded that they are not alone. Many others have preceded them, and the examples of the past are a legacy to us all. May we remember the heritage which has given us and continue to do our best to uphold traditions of excellence. Let us be a model for those who follow us and an encouragement to those who depend on us. Father, bless us now and this ceremony. We ask this in your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Nugent. Please be seated. We'd also like to thank the Honor Guard for presenting the colors and Staff Sergeant Ronzo for his moving rendition of the national anthem.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of our group commander, Colonel John Reel, we would like to welcome you to the 2013 Non-Commissioned Officer Recognition Ceremony. I am Staff Sergeant Derek Wolbrook.
And I am Technical Sergeant Kathy Williams. We will be your Masters of Ceremonies this afternoon.
We would like to begin by recognizing our honored guests who have joined us for today's ceremony. Please hold all applause until we have recognized each guest. Our keynote speaker, Chief Master Sergeant Anthony Gillis, Command Senior Enlisted Leader, NSA CSS Hawaii.
Captain David Carson, Commander, NSA CSS Hawaii.
Chief Master Sergeant Raymond Claiborne, Superintendent, 692nd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Barber, Commander, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Lieutenant Colonel Valerie Long, Commander, 392nd Intelligence Squadron.
Major Benjamin Montgomery, 792nd Intelligence Support Squadron.
And our host for today's ceremony, Colonel John Reel, Commander, 692nd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
We'd also like to welcome all leadership, first sergeants, supervisors, coworkers, family, and friends. Thank you for attending today's ceremony and showing your support for this time-honored tradition that marks an important milestone in these enlisted members' careers.
It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker this afternoon. If you have not already done so, please take a moment to read his biography located in the program. Here is a quick summation of his accomplishments. Chief Master Sergeant Anthony P. Gillis is the Command Senior Enlisted Leader for the National Security Agency, Central Security Service, at Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, Wahiawa Annex, Hawaii. Chief Gillis entered the Air Force in September 1985 and is an operations intelligence professional. His assignments include bases in Colorado, Virginia, Germany, Maryland, Florida, Washington, D.C., South Korea, Nebraska, Illinois, Hawaii, and the United Kingdom. Chief Gillis has also deployed in support of Operations Proven Force, Desert Storm, and Iraqi Freedom. Please help us extend a warm welcome to Chief Master Sergeant Anthony P. Gillis.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the leadership that is present here, Captain Carson, Colonel Reel, Barber, Long, Major Montgomery. And promote you soon, sir. We'll meet you there soon, right? Thank you for coming. It's great that you take the time out of your day to be here and support our soon-to-be newly minted NCOs. I will tell you that I've been around for a while, as you saw in my bio. So we didn't have a ceremony like this when I made the transition to the NCO Corps. I think it's important that we do this. I'm glad that we are now because we need to signify this in a very special way because it does mean something. So my remarks today are going to be about that mark, that jump from the junior tier enlisted grade to the mid-tier enlisted grade. But before I do that, I wanted to spend a little bit of time. It doesn't hurt to start off with a little bit of humor. So I think that one of the things you probably have already spent some time learning about are EPRs, right? You just spent a little bit of time talking about EPRs. You're going to be writing EPRs on airmen that you're going to be responsible for, right? Yeah? You guys covered that, right? Yeah? See, North and South Carolina, yes, we're talking about it, right? So over the decades, there's been this great little compilation of really interesting little bullets from different OPRs and EPRs that I thought I'd share with you to kind of kick off my comments here. So the first one, they all have a little bit of humor in it, so I like these. But So the first one says, this is like an actual bullet off an eval. He sets low personal standards and then consistently fails to achieve them. Works well, but under constant supervision and cornered like a rat in a trap. I've known people like that. Another one, this airman should go far, and the sooner he starts, the better. But my favorite one has to do with leadership. I'm sure you got some instruction on leadership, right? So this one here is very key to the leadership one, and I hope this does not fit any of you as far as the description goes. His men follow him anywhere, but only out of morbid curiosity. I really like that. So, as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, as I mentioned, I want to talk about the jump from the junior tier to the mid-tier. So I thought about it. So we have the junior tier, we have the mid-tier, we have the senior tier. And I come from a pretty big family. It's not in my bio, but I'm a middle child. I'm number 5 of 7. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers, but I'm the middle one, your typical middle child. So the oldest child, that senior tier person, is the one that's most responsible for the care and feeding of the younger ones, right? My oldest sister, she was the one when she got old enough, had to babysit us all when mom and dad went out to dinner or something like that, right? So the baby in the family, our junior tier person, was the spoiled brat. I mean, always spoiled, couldn't do anything wrong, got all the things that, you were deprived of as a middle child because they were the baby they wanted. So, so the middle child, me, I was the one who always got forgotten about. My birthday was forgotten, and just because you're the middle child, it's the way it ends up being in a big family like that. But so I tend to think that I'm pretty well suited to talk about the mid-tier listed grades, right? So I hope you all have an appetite. I know we're just getting done. I'm sure you all ate some lunch, right? But you need to have an appetite, number one, for humility. Because when you become an NCO, there's times where you're going to have to eat some humble pie. All right? Because we're not all perfect. And you're going to learn that very quickly, right? I'm sure you all feel pretty ill-equipped right now because you haven't made that transition yet. And you're going to be put in situations that are going to be very uncomfortable because you just don't have that experience for. So there will be times when you're going to make some mistakes. So you got to be ready to eat a little bit of humble pie and right yourself from those mistakes, right? The other thing you need to have an appetite for is learning. And I don't mean just learning as far as education goes, PME, that kind of thing. The thing you need to learn most is the people that you are in charge of. You need to know them. So who attended Chief Staff of the Air Force's General Welsh when he was here? Did any of you all attend that? His speech, and we talked about having to know that one particular NCO with the daughter, right? You're going to be the ones that are going to be bringing those issues to your commanders to help resolve. But if you don't know who your airmen are, you don't know what problems that are going on behind the scenes. We're expecting you to be those ones that are ultra sensitive to what's going on with your airmen. You can only do that by knowing your airmen. So, I'm sure you're familiar with this, right? The Little Brown Book, which is our Bible, right, for the enlisted force structure. In the NCO portion of this, so it gives the very general NCO responsibilities here in the enlisted force structure. So, in one particular section here, it says, be alert for signs, and then it gives 3 categories, but it says, be alert for these signs in yourself and others. And the areas are substance abuse, depression, suicide, and the third one is about post-combat stress. So you need to be alert for the signs of that. But it doesn't give you how to do that. And you only get to know how to do that by getting to know the airmen that you're responsible for. But we're relying on you, leadership-wise, to do that for us, because they can't be everywhere. We're the ones that have the most impact on the airmen. In fact, so much so that in my experience, when I've had and seen airmen leave the military, they've made the decision that they've done one term and that's all they're going to do, and they're going to get out. And I hear the stories about why they got out, and some of them are just heart-crushing. because it had to deal with their immediate supervisors. Their immediate supervisors didn't care enough, they didn't act on an issue, or they weren't sensitive to what was going on to the airmen that they were responsible for. That's sad. But I think this is kind of why we do what we're doing with you all right now, to try and give you some tools to help you be sensitive and perceptive to those things that are going on in your airman's life. Because it is extremely important. I mean, you are being issued the keys to a brand new car, and that brand new car is our airman. So, it's not a rental car, it's a car. And I especially say that because, I can be giving you the keys. It could be a rental car. I tell you, anyone know what the best off-road vehicle is that we have in the inventory? A rental. Doesn't matter what kind of car. It could be a Prius, it could be an SUV. Hey, that's not, trust me, in my special ops days, we took some rentals on some excursions, returned them with weeds sticking out of the bumpers and stuff like that. Luckily, we never injured a car, but so you're getting the keys to an airman, and hopefully some of you have more than one airman to be responsible for. This is your new car, okay? And so what do you do with a new car? You take extreme care of it, right? You want to know everything that goes on with the car, how it operates, how it handles, right? Eventually, like any car that you own, you're not going to hold a car till the day you die. Most people, I would tend to think that, I know I've owned several cars in my lifetime, but when I owned them, I took care of them because they were mine. I don't treat it like a rental. I treat it like it's mine. So there's certain care that you take with the things that you own. So you need to own your airmen, but you also need to own the Air Force. And I think this is where we have the biggest problem. And that part where we have our airmen that decide to make the decision to leave the Air Force is because those immediate supervisors had not taken ownership, not only of their airmen, but of the Air Force. Next Friday, we are having the distinct privilege of Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, number 5. Chief Gaylor is going to be speaking at the gala next week. I've had many occasions to hear him. His son actually was my squadron commander at one point. So we were able to sneak him in, and on many occasions, without having the protocol that goes along with the travel of the Chief Master of the Air Force. It's very rare to be able to have that much access to one of these, one of the gems that we have on Chief Master of the Air Force. But he's got dozens of stories to tell, and they're all just really good stories. But one in particular, I remember early on when I first met him, he talked about a story when he was watching the first Gulf War. There were interviews of various airmen across the AOR, and then this one particular interview, he said, stuck out in his mind. And it dealt with a crew chief, an F-16 crew chief. They're interviewing him at, I want to say it was Dhahran in Saudi Arabia. And actually his jet was taxiing in the background, preparing to take off to go do a mission. And so the reporters there talking to the crew chief, and the crew chief keeps talking about the fact that that's his F-16 out there, and his F-16 is the best aircraft out there, but he kept referring to it as his F-16. If you've ever been on a flight line and you've been working with fighters, you'll notice that there's a name painted on the side of the jet. The name that's painted on the side there is the crew chief's name. He is ultimately, or she is ultimately responsible for everything about that aircraft. And when the pilot gets ready to get in that aircraft and take out on a mission, he's having faith and trust that that crew chief has done everything in his power to make sure that that aircraft is fully operational. He owned that aircraft. So Chief Gaylor, in his talk that I heard, he talked about the fact that, that is really the key element there. He made that transition from being just a doer of tasks, the person that turns the wrenches on the aircraft, makes sure it has the right amount of fuel on board, right weaponry, all that kind of stuff. You can do those tasks, but actually to be the one that's ultimately responsible and actually take ownership of that is really the key element there. So there will be times when you are going to be taking care of your airmen where you need to take into account the needs of the Air Force. And sometimes those won't necessarily be, they won't meet each other head on. There will be conflict, because sometimes your airmen might be a little too needy, So you're going to have to look at what is the requirements that are levied upon us. What is it we're asked to do? What is the mission that's being done here? And is what my airman is asking me to do, does it really mesh with what we're supposed to be doing? So you're going to have to make that tough call, right? And you're going to be the one making that evaluation decision when it comes to writing those EPRs. So you're going to be charged with a lot of responsibility, and it's really a big step. And that's why I think it's so important that we are taking this time to identify that you're making this transition from being that doer, that junior grade person, to being the owner of your airmen and the owner of the Air Force. Chief Taylor goes on to talk about how the ownership can evolve into all kinds of different ways. So one of them is just the care and appearance of our facilities, and caring about the way other people look in uniform. I mean, you're going to hear the charge that we'll be reading to you here pretty soon, but it's one of the things you're going to be responsible for, is ensuring people are within standards. Going back to the little brown book here, there's one particular paragraph in here that I really like, because the wording is very, very clear. It says this: clearly meet and exceed the standards and expectations levied upon you. Clearly meet and strive to exceed. Strive to exceed the standards and expectations levied upon you. Instill professional behaviors in your subordinates and correct those who violate those standards. It doesn't get much clearer than that, right? We all should know what clearly meets, and we should know what striving to exceed really looks like. You can tell those people that are just biding their time, right? You're going to be the ones making the call when you evaluate somebody over the last year's worth of performance. You need to be able to clearly distinguish, clearly meeting and above standards and clearly exceeding standards. We're asking you to do that for us, for them, as they make their decisions on what the future of our airmen are going to be. That's a pretty lofty responsibility, and you should take it. You should not take that responsibility lightly. One of the books that I like to have, many of you have been up on my desk, you see that I have this book. This is a book by a buddy of mine. Actually, he's General Alexander, the director of NSA, chief of it, the CSS, and the commander of cyber command, who wears many hats. But Chief Slater is his senior leader up there at NSA Washington. So he put together this book. There's a particular chapter in the book where he talks about making the next rank. And he makes something that's very profound and common in here that I thought I'd share with you. It says, your promotion isn't a reward for yesterday's knowledge, skill, or performance. It's an expectation that you will fulfill your potential to perform tomorrow's broader set of tasks to an ever-increasing standard. The Air Force didn't promote you because you are awesome. They promoted you because they expect you to become awesome. Rising to meet the challenge is sure to come with the responsibilities and authority of your next grade. That's really what it's all about. You've done a good job. You've gotten to where you've gotten now, but we're promoting you because we expect you to be even better, right? And so I really hope that you will strive to meet that goal in everything that you do. We're counting on you to do that for us, to no longer be just a doer, but to take owner of your airmen and our mission. I look forward to sharing the rest of the Air Force, the time that I have left in uniform. And I look forward to helping to help groom you guys up to the future grades ahead of you. And this just doesn't, they don't sew on extra stripes just on top of that. We earn each one of them. So incrementally, we need to continue to grow you all incrementally. We're here to support you to do that. And we're happy to do it. And it's really a pleasure to do that and to see you guys strive to exceed those standards as we're called to do in the Little Brown Book. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing to serve with you in the nation's greatest airport.
Inductees, please stand for the NCO charge.
You are charged with ensuring that personnel and resources under your control are effectively used. You are charged with remaining alert to detecting adverse morale trends and initiating corrective action within your control, providing appropriate feedback to superiors. You are charged with maintaining the highest level of communication and rapport with subordinates, remaining attuned to their needs, being ever mindful that the key is empathy, not apathy. You are charged with actively encouraging and motivating both on and off-duty involvement in unit and base activities by leading the way. You are charged with ensuring that people are treated fairly by all agencies and activities, both on and off base, and initiating corrective action in any instance which violates this principle. You are charged with always wearing the uniform properly and ensuring compliance with subordinates. You are charged with the personal responsibility to take advantage of on and off-duty education programs, which will enhance your professional development in preparation to assume increased leadership responsibilities in your quest to attain higher NCO grades. You are charged at all times with presenting an image of confidence, integrity, and pride, the image of a professional, non-commissioned officer.
Thank you, Chief Master Sergeant Gillis. As our newest staff sergeant selects crosses the stage today, it represents their transition from the airman ranks into the non-commissioned officer corps. Their every action and decision must be governed by our core values of integrity, service before self, and excellence in all we do.
And now it is time for the presentation of the certificates. Colonel Reel and Chief Master Sergeant Gillis, will you please come forward to do the honors? Family members, please feel free to come forward and take pictures as your loved ones cross the stage.
Our first Staff Sergeant inductee this afternoon is Alan Alleman, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
David Allard, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
John Balla, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Nicole Casanuovo, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Rachel Dormito, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Daniel Dunn, 792nd Intelligence Support Squadron.
Zach Enyard, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Nathan Fannis, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Alberto Gomez, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Jeremy Jackson, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
George Jenkins, 392nd Intelligence Squadron.
Hey, whatever. I'm laughing.
Ashley Kessler, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Caitlin Legowski, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Ashley Lang, 392nd Intelligence Squadron.
Rebecca Lee, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Justin Matthews, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Stephen Matson, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
David Morris, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Justin Nance, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Isaac Rao, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Kenneth Scarpa, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Lanisha Smith, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Terry Stewart, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Judah Talley, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Kevin Thompson, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Christopher Walker, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Michael Watson, 324th Intelligence Squadron.
Congratulations to all of our staff selects. From the real estate yours.
So the first thing I want to know, Chief, where did you get my old OPRs? That one about morbid curiosity, I remember that. So I wanted to start with a story. I'm going to break the 3-minute final speaker rule, so you have to forgive me in advance, because I want to start with a story. Shortly after I got here, I had a conversation with an airman in this group, and I don't want to talk about too much about what that conversation was, but I do want to say that I left that conversation feeling both very impressed and very humble. Because that airman was doing something that I wouldn't have expected them to do. They were going what I would call above and beyond the call of duty. And when I asked that airman, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself out there like that? The airman said to me, because that's what the Air Force expects me to do. That's what I expect myself to do. And I was inspired, and I was humbled. I was humbled and inspired, and it made me think about two things in particular that are going to be relevant to you as you cross this threshold into the NCO ranks. The first is that we need to always remember to set high expectations for those that work with us. And that's easy to say, and it's pretty obvious when you think about it, right? But it's a lot harder to do in practice. There's an old adage that says that you're going to spend as a supervisor about 80% of your time on the bottom 20% of your people. And while that's not entirely true, it highlights a very real danger, which is that when you look at all of the airmen that work with you, the ones that are in that top 80% look good by comparison to the ones that you're spending your time on. And so you focus on them and you say, they're good enough. Well, that's a bad trap to fall into. Because if we all fall into that trap as leaders, then our Air Force isn't going to move forward. And we're not going to be taking care of the very airmen that are doing the most to move it forward. So instead of setting the bar for your work center based on the trouble that you're having with one or two airmen, think about what great looks like for your work center, and then set the standard there, and challenge all of your airmen to meet that. Nurture those airmen who are the top performers. Continue to develop those who have yet a little bit of ways to go. The second thing that this particular conversation made me think about was myself. Am I setting the right expectations for myself? Because just as it's easy as a leader for you to fall into what they're doing is good enough, it's also easy for all of us as airmen, especially in the areas where we're not quite as strong, we're not quite as good at X as Y, to say, okay, I've gotten good enough at X. And then I can focus on the other things that are more in my comfort zone. Well, the conversation that I had with this airman led me to a little bit of self-reflection, led me to look in the mirror and say, am I worthy of this kind of airman? The Air Force has placed a great amount of trust in me as a leader. They have given me, as Chief Gillis says, the keys to some pretty high-performance cars, or high-performance airmen. This one that I had this conversation being a prime example of that. So am I worthy of that Ferrari, of that Porsche, of that Lamborghini? And if I'm not, what am I doing to fix that? Am I looking at all of the areas of myself as an airman so that I'm setting the right example for those the Air Force has entrusted me with? In other words, am I worthy of those airmen? So I challenge you to be worthy of the airmen that the Air Force is about to give you. Because if you work to be worthy of those airmen, and you set expectations for those airmen and the Air Force will move forward and do our nation proud. Thanks very much for studying hard, for preparing yourself for leadership. I look forward to seeing you in the work centers, and I know your airmen do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Reel. At this time, we ask all of the spouses, significant others, and family members of our Staff Sergeant Selects that are present today to please rise. In order to properly celebrate this significant accomplishment in their lives, we must also recognize the people who helped them get here. We would not be able to succeed in the Air Force without the support of our family and friends.
A special thanks also goes out to those that helped make today's ceremony possible. Please join us in a round of applause for the Tradewind staff. Our photographers. And all of our volunteers. Without whom none of today's events would have been possible.
Please rise as our selectees lead us in the Airman's Creed, followed by the Air Force song.
As we conclude today's ceremony, we ask you to join us in congratulating our newest inductees on their accomplishment while partaking in some cuckoos and beverages. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and have an outstanding Air Force Day.